Do you ever feel like no matter what you do, you just don't fit in? Like you're speaking a different language while everyone else is following some unwritten rule book you never got. Maybe you've spent your whole life trying to shrink, to blend in, to make yourself acceptable to the world around you. But what if I told you you were never meant to fit in? You were meant to stand out. And today, we're going to talk about exactly why that's your superpower. If you've ever felt like the odd one out, like you just don't belong here on Earth, then this episode is for you. By the end of this episode, you're going to understand why trying to fit in is keeping you small and why embracing who you actually are will change everything. Hey, I'm Melanie, and if you're new here, welcome to my corner of the internet, where we say fuck the conditioning, reclaim our power, and do life on our own terms. I help people break free from the crap they were taught about who they should be so they can actually become who they were meant to be. And let's be real, most of us were taught to shrink, to be polite, agreeable, unproblematic, to not take up too much space. But let's talk about why that's complete nonsense and why standing out is actually the key to living a life that feels good instead of one that just looks good on paper. So why were you never meant to fit in? Well, the first reason is you're not here to survive. You're here to thrive. Let's start with this. Humans are wired to seek belonging. Back in the caveman days, if you didn't fit in with the tribe, you were screwed. Your survival literally depended on blending in. Fast forward to now, and that wiring is still in us. But you are not in survival mode anymore, or at least you shouldn't be. You don't need the approval of people who don't align with you just to stay alive. So why are you still shrinking yourself to be accepted by people who wouldn't even notice if you disappeared? The second reason is the world conditions you to conform because it's easier to control you that way. Listen, society thrives on keeping people in their neat little boxes. The obedient worker, the self-sacrificing mother, the quiet rule follower who doesn't question authority. And why do they do that? Because it's easier to control people who are afraid of standing out. Think about it. If you believe that being different is dangerous, if you think you need permission to speak up, you'll stay silent. If you fear rejection, you'll do anything to fit in, even if it means betraying yourself. And let me tell you, that's by design. Society doesn't want you thinking for yourself. It wants you playing by the rules, even when those rules don't serve you. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. So tell me in the comments, what's one rule you were taught that you now realize is complete bullshit? Number 3, the people who change the world are the ones who refuse to fit in. Let's look at the people that we admire. The leaders, the visionaries, the game changers. Were they the ones trying to blend in and be agreeable? Hell no. Frida Kahlo didn't paint to fit the mold. She painted her truth. Nikola Tesla didn't follow the crowd. He created the future. Every single spiritual teacher, activist, and revolutionary in history stood out. They pissed people off, and they did it anyway. The point is that every single person who's ever made an impact did it by being unapologetically themselves. And guess what? You're no different. Your authenticity is not just important, it's your power. The more you hide it, the more you dim your own magic. Number 4, the cost of fitting in is losing yourself. And here's what we don't talk about enough. Trying to fit in will drain the life out of you. When you say yes, when you really mean no. You're playing small so others don't feel uncomfortable. You're constantly questioning yourself instead of trusting yourself. And that's fucking exhausting. I know because I've been there, and sometimes I still am there. I spent years twisting myself into something I thought would be acceptable. And you know what? It never worked. No matter how much I contorted myself, I still felt out of place. Because deep down, I knew I was never meant to be like everyone else. And neither were you. So why are you still trying? So, what should we do instead? Well, if fitting in isn't the goal, then what is? It's standing in your truth, owning who you are, taking up space without apologizing for it. So, here is how you start. Number one, notice where you're dimming yourself. Pay attention to where you are shrinking to fit in. Who are you silencing yourself for? Write that shit down. Second step is ask yourself, who am I when I'm not performing for approval? If no one was watching, if no one was judging, who would you be? What would you do? That is the real you. Step 3 is to start practicing radical authenticity. And I don't mean some vague live your truth nonsense. I mean actively choosing you in small ways every day. Wear the outfit that feels like you, even if people stare. Say the thing you really mean, even if it makes waves. Take up space, even when it's uncomfortable. Because the more you do it, the easier it gets. And the easier it gets, the freer you become. Listen, if you've made it this far, something in this episode spoke to you. So here's what I want you to do. Number 1, drop a comment and tell me one way you've tried to fit in that you're done with. Let's call it out so we can release it. Number 2, share this with someone who needs to hear this today. And number 3, subscribe, because this is just the beginning and we've got a lot more to talk about. If you're watching this on Substack, stick around. I share deep dives, exclusive content, and practical tools to help you reclaim your power right here. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss anything. If you're watching this on YouTube, come join me over on Substack, where we take these conversations even deeper. You'll get exclusive insights, real talk guidance, and a community of people doing the same work together. The link's in the description, and I would love to see you there. Remember, the world does not need more people trying to blend in. It needs you. Unfiltered, unapologetic, fully alive. So get out there and take up space. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to stand the fuck out.